Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. I would like to start the session with a nice quote. What is today's quote? Great works are performed not by strength but by perseverance. Perseverance means not giving up, the nature of not giving up, or doing something till the time one achieves success. In a way, you can say consistency. Great works are performed not by strength but by perseverance. Very useful quote and given by Samuel Johnson. What is enrichment from today's session? You're going to get insight into reading comprehension skill based on the editorial, grammar, and editorial vocabulary. Besides, when it comes to exam topics, questions based on exam topics. You're going to work on idioms, fillers, errors, and para-jumble. Today's editorial is all about a pact between China and Solomon Islands. And a lot of people may not know where these are. When you look at this, you get an idea. Here we have China, here we have Australia, and this is Pacific Ocean. Here we have Solomon Islands. And this editorial is all about a pact between China and Solomon Islands. Not that important from the exam point of view. Otherwise, it is important. A few words which go with effective English are there, not too many. So let us go to editorial vocabulary. Security pact, exactly. The very first word goes with you people. What is it? Ambition. What does it mean, ambition? Part of speech noun, a strong desire to do or achieve something. You all have a strong desire to achieve something, and that strong desire is called ambition. Usually, I say a typical combination, ambitious youth. Youngsters are very ambitious, and ambitious youth. Remember the combination. A strong desire to do or achieve something. Ambition, noun, ambitious, adjective. Pact, it is a noun, a formal agreement between individuals or parties. In this context, a formal agreement between two countries. Landmark could be a noun, could be an adjective. What is a landmark? Then it's a noun. Landmark judgment, then it is an adjective. In this context, it is an adjective, an event or discovery marking an important stage or turning point in something, an important development, we say landmark. Evoke, an important word, verb. Bring or recall to the conscious mind. When you see something or you visit a particular place, something brings or that place brings or recalls to the conscious mind something, then we say evoke. Evoke a feeling. Usually it goes with feelings. Deploy, we have got many a time. What does it mean? Move troops or equipment into position for military action. Usually it goes with police. Imagine in a particular city, a particular area is disturbed. Immediately police are deployed. Logistics goes with companies. Part of speech noun, the commercial activity of transporting goods to customers. Logistics, supply chain. Strategic, we have got many a time, part of speech adjective, relating to the gaining of overall or long-term military advantage. It goes with the defense dimension. Military advantage, strategic. Take up is a phrasal verb. Become interested or engaged in a pursuit. Take up a hobby, take up a particular activity. Motivation, you guys are highly motivated. So motivation means what? Part of speech noun, motivate verb. Motivation noun. A reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. But usually I tell motivation, the driving force, there is a force inside. That force makes you do things. That force is called motivation. Implied information. Imply part of speech verb. Indicate the truth or existence of something by suggestion rather than explicit reference. Here you have to recollect explicit information, implicit information. Explicit means stated, clear to make out. It is there in the passage. Implicit, implied, indirect. Avowed, a new word, important word, part of speech adjective that has been asserted, admitted, or stated publicly. You state something publicly, then it is known as avowed, and you try to promote that. Doctrine, an important word, part of speech noun, a belief or set of beliefs held and taught by a church, political party, or other group. A particular group or people believe in something, a strong belief, that is known as doctrine. Albeit, part of speech conjunction, though. We have got this also. Hegemon, a new word, part of speech noun, a supreme leader. What does it mean? A supreme leader. Unabashed means without any shame, not embarrassed or ashamed. Without any shame, someone does something, then we use the word unabashed. These are the words. Some words are important. You have to spend some time to remember. Now let us go to the editorial. How does it start? Growing ambitions. Ambition, the desire, a strong desire to achieve something. Growing ambitions, not one, more than one. So, ambition, first you have to know the meaning of the word ambition, a strong desire to achieve something. And here, growing ambitions means more and more. But what is the main idea? You can't make out from these two words. When you read the next sentence, you get an idea about the main idea of the editorial. China's security pact with the Solomon Islands is a first but unlikely to be the last. Here, a few students may wonder ordinal numbers, already you have learnt, they take the definite article the first, the second, the third. But here you see a first. Here it's a standard phrase, it's a first. Here we don't have to use a definite article we have to use the indefinite article a. So don't think there's a grammatical error, nothing wrong with that. China's security pact. So, what is the subject over here? China's security pact with Solomon Islands is a first, but unlikely to be the last. From this, you can make out it talks about a particular pact between two countries, and the editorial opines this is not a first and it is not going to be the last. More are going to come. Based on that, growing ambitions. When you read the editorial, you understand. And there's one word here, pact. Pact means what? A formal agreement between individuals, parties, countries. In this context, countries. China's government announced on April 19th that it had signed a landmark security pact with the Solomon Islands, evoking concern from Australia and the US. This sentence talks about the announcement from where China's government announced on April 19th. It had signed. Here, announced, the verb is in past. This goes with indirect speech. Based on that, actual statement, present perfect, changes to past perfect. It had signed a landmark security pact. Landmark, you can take it as an important, something that is like a turning point in something. Landmark security pact with the Solomon Islands, evoking concern from Australia and the US. Based on this pact, landmark security pact between China and Solomon Islands, there was response. The impact has been made on two countries. One is Australia and the other is the US. These two countries evoked concern. Evoke means what? Bring or recall to the conscious mind. That means they must have felt the impact of that. So they expressed concern, evoked concern from Australia and the US. The agreement is the first of its kind. This is again an important expression, the first of its kind. The agreement is the first of its kind that China has agreed with any country, has agreed, present perfect. The agreement is a first of its kind that China has agreed with any country and underline means in this context, emphasize its ambitions to play a security role in the Pacific. This talks about the agreement is a first of its kind, that is one thing, and also it highlights or underlines China's ambitions to play a security role where? In the Pacific. Again, something important from the exam point of view. What is it? The Pacific. Here it means the Pacific Ocean. Before oceans, seas, rivers, waterfalls, and groups of islands, we have to use a definite article the. That you have to recollect. The Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. So the first sentence talks about the pact and the response. Based on the pact, the response from two countries, Australia and the US. And also, then the second sentence talks about the agreement is the first of its kind. And also, it talks about what exactly the agreement brings to mind or underlines. It underlines its ambitions to play a security role in the Pacific. The final version hasn't been made public. Here it is in present perfect passive voice. The final version of the pact hasn't been made public, but according to a draft that was leaked last month, that was leaked, again, passive voice past tense, it will pave the way, an important expression, provide the path for China to deploy its security forces there. So pave the way, an important expression, do remember, for China, and this particular, it hasn't been made public. The sentence talks about one or two aspects. One, the final version hasn't been made public, but according to a draft that was leaked last month, it will pave the way, provide the path for China to deploy its security forces there. Deploy means what? Move in this context, obviously, troops or equipment into position for military action. The Solomon Islands can request police and military personnel to assist in maintaining social order, while China can make ship visits and use its ports for logistics. There's an important word, logistics. What does it mean? It goes with a company, an organization, the commercial activity of transporting goods to customers. So, what is the advantage the country has, Solomon Islands, and what is the advantage China has? The Solomon Islands can request police and military personnel to assist in maintaining social order. That is from Solomon Islands' point of view, advantage, while China can make ship visits and use its ports for logistics. That is advantage China has. This will give China's vessels a strategic foothold. Strategic, an important word. What does it mean? Relating to the gaining of overall or long term military advantage. Because of that access, this will give China's vessels, means here ships, a strategic foothold in the Pacific, in a region close to Australia and Guam, where the US has a naval base. Here, this pact and the impact of that will give China's vessels a strategic foothold in the Pacific. That is one thing. And where is this region? In a region close to Australia and Guam, where the US has a naval base. Strategic, usually, it has a different meaning, strategy. That goes with planning, that goes with achieving something. But in this context, it goes with defense. Both countries, unsurprisingly, expressed concern. No one is surprised because the region is something like a hotspot. Both countries, unsurprisingly, expressed concern, with Washington this week even dispatching a senior official, an Indo Pacific coordinator, Kurt Campbell, to the Solomon Islands, who will take up the pact as well as plans to reopen the US embassy there. The impact of the pact, two countries have evoked concern, and based on that concern, it is not surprising. Both countries unsurprisingly expressed concern. And what is the action taken by the US with Washington this week? Even dispatching, the US has dispatched a senior official, an Indo Pacific coordinator, Kurt Campbell, to the Solomon Islands. And what is he going to do over there? Who will take up the pact? Take up is a phrasal verb. Become interested or engaged in a pursuit. Take up the pact as well as plans to reopen the US embassy there. Again, based on this, China's response. China questioned the motivations of the visit by Kurt Campbell. noting that the embassy had been closed for 29 years, but the US had now taken a sudden interest. It's like a chain reaction. Something from China, the response from the US and Australia, based on that, some action. Again, based on the action, the response of China. China questioned here, based on that, China questioned the motivations of the visit. Motivation, the driving force, a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. Noting that the embassy had been closed for 29 years, but the US had now taken a sudden interest. 29 years the embassy was closed. Why all of a sudden sending a coordinator and trying to take up the pact, trying to work on, trying to reopen the embassy? Obviously, China questioned based on that particular stand or move by the US. The significance of the pact extends beyond the immediate regional security concerns in the Pacific. Again, this sentence talks about the impact. The significance, importance of the pact extends beyond the immediate regional security concerns in the Pacific. It goes beyond that. For decades, China insisted it would never open a military base abroad. For many years, for decades, that's an important phrase. China insisted it would never open a military base abroad. Then, in 2017, the PLA put into use its first foreign base in Djibouti. Contrary to what the stand it has taken, the Solomon Islands government said the agreement does not imply China will build a base there. That's what Solomon Islands government said. China will not, does not imply China will build a base there. That means China may not build a base over there. Imply, you all know, implied, imply, implicit, indicate the truth or existence of something by suggestion, that means indirectly rather than explicit reference. Chinese military planners have, however, made clear that further bases for its navy are in the works, with experts suggesting possible locations in Pakistan, Cambodia, and Equatorial Guinea in the Atlantic. This talks about though though the Solomon Islands government said the government does not the agreement does not imply China will build a base there. On the contrary, Chinese military planners have, however, made clear that further bases for its navy are in the works, are in the pipeline. They are working on that, with experts suggesting possible locations in Pakistan, Cambodia, and Equatorial Guinea in the Atlantic Ocean. The pact does, however, the pact does, for emphasis we use this pattern, however, relate to a second key pillar of China's avowed, an important word, means what? That has been asserted, admitted, or stated publicly. This pact has another dimension. This sentence talks about that. The pact does, however, relate to a second key pillar of China's avowed peaceful rise doctrine. Doctrine, a belief or set of beliefs held by a group of people, a country, church, a religious organization, or a political party. What is that doctrine, which was as popularized by Panchsheel, or the five principles of peaceful coexistence, the non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries. It talks about not interfering in the affairs of internal affairs of other countries. The deployment of security forces in a foreign country certainly does not square with that idea. What is the idea over here? It is not going to interfere. It goes with non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries. But that is one thing. On the other hand, the deployment of security forces in a foreign country certainly does not square with that idea, does not go with that idea. It is something contrary. China has already begun to do so elsewhere, albeit on a limited scale. There's a conjunction. What does it mean? Though. China has already begun to do so elsewhere, other places, though on a limited scale. Chinese media have mentioned China Pakistan patrols in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, while reports have suggested the deployment of security forces in Tajikistan near the Wakhan corridor that links Afghanistan and Xinjiang. So this talks about something going on contrary to the stand taken by the Chinese government. China's past commitments on military bases and non-interference were intended to show the world Beijing would not seek to become a global hegemon, an important word. Its favored term to describe the US. China describes the US using this particular word. What does it mean? Hegemon means a supreme leader. So this talks about Chinese commitments, China's past commitments on military bases and non-interference were intended to show the world Beijing would not seek to become a global hegemon, its favored term to describe the US. Again, contrary information, but this is less of a concern for Xi Jinping, who has made clear his view that the East is rising and the West declining, and that China should be unabashed about moving to the center stage. Contrary information, statement is one thing, action is something else, contrary to the statement or the stand taken by China. But that is the reason why we have the word but and also previous one, however. But this is less of a concern for Xi Jinping, who has made clear his view that the East is rising and West is declining, and that China should be unabashed, means unabashed, an important word, not embarrassed or ashamed, about moving to the center stage. The latest security pact is unlikely to be the last. The main idea is being reiterated. It may be a first, but it is unlikely to be the last. More are in the pipeline. That's all about this editorial. A short editorial, but some important words are there, and you may not get as a passage in prelims and mains, chances are less. And the words which are important, you have to spend some time. What is this editorial about? What has evoked keyword concern from Australia and the US? And when you write the answers, try to write complete sentences. That helps in the long run. What will give China's vessels a strategic foothold in the Pacific Ocean? Here, vessels means ships, a strategic foothold in the Pacific. The significance of the pact extends beyond what? The importance of the pact extends beyond something. What is that? You have to answer the question. What certainly does not square with the non interference in the internal affairs of other countries, does not square with, does not equal to, does not go with, does not match. Again, you have to navigate, locate, and write the answer. Now, let us go to practice questions based on exam topics. The first five questions, as usual, error location. Read the first one and try to spot the error. That was a first. That is a first, but may not be the last. That's what it says. May not be the last. Has anyone cleared RBI prelims? RBI assistant prelims. Has anyone cleared? While I am doing the houseworks, I like to listen to music on the radio. No. While I am doing the houseworks. Oh, Balu Naik, congratulations. One student has responded. And all the best for your mains. While I'm doing the houseworks. Here, housework is enough. No need to say houseworks. I like to listen to music. Nothing wrong with this. I like to listen to music. You can also say, I like to listening to music. I like listening to music. Household work also you can say. Madhav, yes, but not works. One is housework, the other one is household work. Nothing wrong with this. I like to listen to. But generally, we say, I like listening to. Either way, no problem. While I'm doing the housework or household work, I like to listen to music on the radio. On the radio. Remember, you have to use a definite article the. On the radio and not in on. There is an error in the first part. I think this is the second part. While I am, nothing wrong with that. Second part. As a child, I always want to have a bicycle of my own. As a child, I always want to have a bicycle of my own. This is an easy one, should not be a problem. As a child, that means it goes into the past. Then, can you say, I always want, or will you say, I always wanted? What will you say? No, no. Here, you should understand the context. The moment you read as a child, the context goes into past. That's why I have written as a child past. I always wanted. As a child, I wanted to become something. As a child, I wanted. Here, in the past, so always goes with the past context. Don't think that always, the moment you see always, it has to go with present. Need not be. Context is important. As a child, I always wanted to have a bicycle of my own. So here it is about verb past form. Wanted. I wanted something. Child labor is considered as illegal in many countries. Child labor is considered as illegal. No one has responded. Today it looks like slow. There is a time lag. There is an error. After considered, you should not use as. Child labor is considered illegal in many countries. Then it is correct. Yes, very good. As should not be there. It's a common error. It has been considered as the best painting. Not correct. It has been considered the best painting. When he found out that the girl had escaped, he was absolute irritated and furious. Furious means angry, very angry. Question number 4. When he found out past, the girl had escaped. It should be in past perfect. He was absolute irritated. No, he was absolutely. We need to use the adverb absolutely irritated and furious. Then it is correct. Right word, wrong form. Almost all the questions go with word forms. We have many rooms in our house, several of which haven't been in use for years. Haven't been in use for years. Today, More than 20 seconds. Where is the error? Sentence number 5. We have many rooms in our house, several of which haven't been in use for years. No, no. Nothing wrong with several of which. Nothing wrong. No one has got it right. Here there is no error. We have many rooms in our house. We have many rooms in our house, several of which. Nothing wrong. Several means more than one. So haven't been in use for years. They haven't been in use for years, for months. Nothing wrong, no error. Please respect the fifth option. Today also we have sync model. What is a sync model? You have two sentences, each sentence with a blank, and you have five options. One particular word goes with both the sentences, grammatically, contextually. I got the grains. Very good, Bharat, first one to respond. Here, I got the grains ground in the machine. Here, the word ground can be a noun, can be a verb. In this context, it is a verb. And what is the actual verb? Grind. Grind, ground, ground. I got the grains ground in the machine. Perfect. I don't have any ground for doubting him. Here, ground means a stand. I got the grains done. You can consider. I don't have any done. No. I got the grains basis cannot be considered. I don't have any basis you can consider. And answer is a third option. I got the grains crushed. You can consider. I don't have any crushed cannot be considered. I got the grains tuned does not make any sense. Answer is the third option. Playground, noun, obviously. He asked me to over the fence. We should keep the valuables in the. No, no. Safe is not correct. Answer is the first option. What is the reason? He asked me to vault over the fence. You all know pole vault. Pole vault. Here, vault means jump over the fence. We should keep the valuables in the vault, safety vault. So, answer is the first option. He asked me to cross over the fence. We should keep the valuables in the cross. Does not make any sense. We should keep the valuables in the tie. Does not make any sense. We should keep the valuables in the locker. It makes sense. He asked me to locker. Does not make any sense. When it comes to sync model, remember the one word may go with one sentence. It may not go with the other sentence. Then you have to reject. Answer is the first option, obviously. Our office decided to organize a party for the couple. Him in conversation to while away some time. While away, idiomatic expression. To waste. We also say idle away. Idle away some time. While away some time. Exactly. Our office decided to organize a party for the new couple. You can consider. She knew him cannot be considered. Listen to my analysis. Can be considered, cannot be considered. Then you reject. Our office decided to organize a party for the engaged couple. Yes. She engaged him in conversation. Perfect. But look at the other options. Our office decided to organize a party for the pledged couple. Pledge goes with things. Pledge your property, pledge your valuables. So not cannot be considered. She pledged him in conversation. Even that is not right. For the held couple, not correct. She held him in conversation. Again, not correct. Encountered couple, no. She encountered him in conversation. Cannot be considered. What is the answer? Second option is the answer. The next of this case is after 2 months. After the accident, her has been affected. If you take a case, someone files a case, I gave the words the other day, and the person who files a case, plaintiff, the other one, defendant, and in the court, the trial is on. Then we use terms like the first hearing, second hearing. The next hearing of this case is after 2 months. Seems right? After the accident, her hearing has been affected. Yes. The next dates of this case you can consider. After the accident, her dates? No. After the accident, her balance has been affected. The next balance you cannot use. The next evidence of this case, her evidence does not make any sense. Her health has been affected. You can consider. The next health cannot be considered. So what is the answer? The fifth option is the answer. As a last, we had to accept these terms and conditions. Court hearing, obviously. This place has become a good tourist now. As a last, we had to accept. Yes. As a last resort. Here, resort means option. As a last resort, we had to accept these terms and conditions. This place has become a good tourist resort now. Yes. As a last step, you can consider tourist step is not correct. As a last attraction, you cannot consider. Tourist attraction, you can consider. As a last spot, no, you cannot consider. But tourist spot, you can consider. No, it does not go with the first one. As a last spot, that is not correct. As a last means, you can consider. Tourist means cannot be considered. Answer is the first option. Now we have, has anyone got all the five correct? Sync model. Para Jumble, an easy one. That's good. And mind you guys, those questions are from previous year's papers. That's good. Here, what you have to remember, we have 100 plus the live session. About 5 or maximum 10 students have responded, all the 5 correct. That means they're not easy. You are good at English. You have to take it that way. What is the first one? You can consider this, but whose? No, you cannot consider. You can consider this. In his way, pronoun cannot be the first one. Internationally, you can consider. But the presidential, no. The French will decide, no. What is the first sentence? It is not A. 5 years after Emmanuel Macron won the presidency on his first attempt, C is the first one. The French will decide whether he deserves another term. CF a pair, one sentence, in fact, because there's a comma. 5 years after Emmanuel Macron won the presidency on his first attempt, the French, means French people, will decide whether he deserves another term. CF. A third one is a bit difficult. 1 and 2 are easy, but third one a bit difficult. Let's see how many of you are going to get the third sentence. Very good, Bharat. Third one is A. Re-election. This sentence talks about re-election. The French will decide whether he deserves another term. Means re-election. This is a clue. Re-election for Mr. Macron would defy, challenge critics of his imperious style of governance. So A is the third one. After that, it becomes easy. In his way stands a resurgent Marine Le Pen. Then we have whose focus on the rising cost of living has matched the national mood. DB a pair. Yes, someone has said that. Perfect. DB a pair. CF a pair. DB a pair. And what is the last one? Internationally, the presidential race will be analyzed as a barometer for the strength of populism. Independent sentence. So, what is the correct order? CFADBE. Good. Idioms. Here you have the idiom with a context. Then on the other column, you have the meanings. Full of beans, a bag of bones, blacked out, hale and hearty, a bitter pill to swallow. Some of these are familiar ones we have got in the recent past. A bag of bones, what does it mean? An extremely thin person. Here, C. What is the meaning of a bag of bones? Extremely thin person. He is always full of beans when he goes to work. Full of beans means a lot of energy, to be active and have a lot of energy and enthusiasm. D is the answer. The stranger blacked out when he fell. Blackout means to lose consciousness. He blacked out in the party. To lose consciousness. In spite of her old age, she looks hale and hearty. Means what? To be in good health. B is the answer. To declare bankruptcy, an important word, insolvency, bankruptcy, was a bitter pill to swallow for him. A bitter pill to swallow. Something unpleasant that must be accepted or endured. Answer is E. Have you got all the 5 correct? You should be happy. The last slide, editorial vocabulary. Ambition, part of speech, noun. Ambitious, adjective. What is the meaning of ambition? Strong desire to achieve something. Passed out also you can say. All the 5 correct, you should be happy. Pact, noun. A formal agreement between, in this context, 2 countries. Landmark, it could be an adjective, It could be a noun, an event or discovery marking an important stage or a turning point, you can say. J is the answer. Evoke a verb, bring or recall to the conscious mind. Deploy a verb, move into position, police, troops, equipment. Imply a verb, indicate by suggestion or indicate indirectly, not direct, indirect. B. Avowed, adjective, an important word. State firmly, assert or state publicly, firmly. I is the answer. Doctrine, noun. Belief or set of beliefs. B is the answer. Unabashed, adjective, an important word. Shameless, it means what? Not ashamed, not embarrassed. E is the answer. Hegemon, noun. A supreme leader. Has anyone got all the 10 correct? That is again highly appreciable. That's all for today. I hope you guys have got enriched. Have a nice day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And do remember to subscribe and share. Join the Telegram group. After the session, go to the description of the video and there's a link. Click on the link.